Good evening, everybody. It's the holidays. Happy Festivus. I would like to just explain that I was putting up the Festivus poll and preparing for the feats of strength. So that's why I was late. The holidays seem to make Matt's standard time about 10 minutes later than usual. And so this was a new record, folks. 19 minutes is my new record. We're going to try to avoid ever breaking that again or approaching it. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. Thank you for taking a little bit of your time to join us here tonight and talk about Chiefs football, NFL, the holidays, food. Hey, whatever you want to talk about, that's what we talk about on the Q&A. I saw Nick is in the comments entertaining everybody. Thank you, Nick, as always, for picking up my slack. Looking forward to it. So, hey, anything you got? Let's get into it. So I won't even mess around. So I am just here to check and see what you all have got to ask, what's on your minds, and what to talk about. Tyler, thank you. I truly appreciate you. Merry Christmas to you as well. And thank you to you, Tyler, and everybody else who has popped in here. I see a lot of the usual suspects. So it is great. I truly appreciate everybody, especially this time of year. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported the channel, supported Nick and myself on the podcast, whether it's here or 41 is the mic. Could not and would not be able to do this without all of your support. So thank you all so much throughout the year, especially this time of year. It's like I've said before, this whole experience has been pretty humbling. Finding out and just realizing, how much people do watch and read and listen and appreciate what we're able to do here. So thank you very much as always. And I know Nick's in the green room. I've seen the costume, so I'm excited. But that's all I'm gonna say. No hints. I'm gonna just let you all enjoy it when Nick reveals himself. Let's see. I saw a question mark. Brandon was at the game on Saturday, and Tooney and Caliendo were having trouble on stunts. What can Andy Heck do to combat stunts on a short week? Really good question. I think that this is for the Steelers game. To me, in a lot of ways, the die is cast. There's not a lot of adjustments, nothing that you can really do too much to change things this week. I mean, it's in place, everything that's happened. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that communication and the chemistry between those two very long, because I do think that DJ Humphries is going to be back for the playoffs. I think that's certainly the expectation. Chiefs feel like that their best offensive line is certainly with DJ Humphries at left tackle and Joe Tooney at left guard. So I think we'll get there. We'll get back there eventually, sooner than later. So I think at this point, anything that the Chiefs feel like that they need to do at that spot, when you've got Tooney and Caliendo there at the same time, is just triage. It's just trying to make sure that they can get through the next game or two with as much intact as necessary, and just as with what they've got. Hey, teams are going to challenge them with multiple moves, with stunts, with moving around. They're going to challenge them with that. And I thought they did improve throughout the game. Caliendo had one play I know that he really did not pick up in the first half, and that didn't go well, but I think they've generally have handled it pretty well. Has it all been perfect? No, but and maybe in the immortal words of Andy Reid, has it been pretty? No, but has it been effective? Mostly. But no, I don't think there's a whole lot on the short week, Brandon, that they can really do or implement to fix anything. I mean, I think at this point you're just hoping that you can kind of maybe brawl and grasp your way through it. So Sharon, happy holidays. Good to see you as always. Neither Chris Jones or DJ Humphries practiced Monday, and not the vet rest, but injuries. Chris especially is concerning thoughts. DJ Humphries, I'm expecting him not to play. I would expect that we're going to see at least one more game with Tooney and Caliendo. Hey, in the best case scenario, Chiefs have the number 1 seed clinched. Denver doesn't matter. I don't even know if DJ Humphries plays then. Maybe he does, just maybe a half to knock off some rust. But I think that's about the earliest that you would see him. And with Chris, I don't get any sense whatsoever that this is a serious injury, but I think it's pretty doubtful to me that he would play. on Wednesday. I mean, I think that they're going to absolutely want to, to give him a break. I'm trying to figure out if Nick is ready to come in or not. I'm assuming he is, but I don't want to. I didn't. I don't want to bring him in before I'm supposed to. So, but I guess we are good to go on Nick. So I'll bring him in. But hey, Sharon, yeah, with Chris, like I said, I don't think it's anything serious, and him resting against the Steelers is fine. And against the Steelers offense, I'll be serious. I don't know if they need him. So we'll see.
Let's light this candle, Matt.
Ho, 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 Nick.
Oh, that one's still, yeah, that one works. We're fine. It just blending then.
You would just get more festive every single day leading up to the holidays.
The closer we get, I'm like my own version of an advent calendar.
You are. What are you going to do when Party City closes?
Matt, already closed. I drove by. I checked last night. The lights were off.
What?
At least on the top of the building. I may drive by again and see if the doors, just open.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I don't know. We'll find out, Matt. We'll find out. But we have to. I mean, maybe they're doing some sales. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, let's hope that the name lives on in some way because
they get a section in Target like other stores in the past that moved on.
The Sephora, it'll be the Party City section of Target.
Maybe. Maybe. Never know.
Stranger things have happened. So hopefully, hey, Party City, we need you. But then again, I still need Radio Shack, so.
Radio Shack's getting its own little corner in the store. No, I have no idea.
Well, what's on your mind, Nick? Here we are. It's Festivus. What's on your mind?
I don't have anything to be angry or bitter about. I will rant about some things later on. But we're gonna see if people can find that hot button first. It's a game called Can You Find the Hot Button First?
Can you push Nick's buttons?
And then if you do, in a good way, not in a like I'm like merp way. No, I'm talking like I like to play a game called Can You Find the Hot Button for next year? And if you can, do you get the ultimate Christmas present surprise in this themed thing?
This is a fun little game. It is. This is like it's a Christmas little game.
Mm-hmm. That's right, Matt. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I've already got plans on what I'm going to wear when we do the podcast on Wednesday, and I've already got the outfit planned out for Friday. Okay.
See, I mean, I've already worn my Christmas vacation shirt, so I don't have much else. I do have a Scrooge McDuck tie that I can wear, but I don't have a lot of festive Christmas gear, Nick. I'm not as joyful as you are.
Not with that attitude, Matt. But we're going to change that advent calendar by advent calendar until we get to that point. And don't you worry, Matt.
And to think there are people that think that you don't have fun here.
Oh, well, it just depends on the day, dude. I already ate today. I'm not hangry. Good.
There are days that you have more fun here than I do.
Thanks for reminding me. We got to really light this candle with a sport coffee. I don't even have that in my system yet. So once we do that, things are going to get real.
Oh my goodness, this is Nick without a sport coffee. Just once the sport coffee gets in there, we're in deep trouble.
We're not in deep trouble, but we got about an hour and a half.
No, this is going to be nothing but goodness.
Matt, I asked the people in the comment section if they're a ham family like you. And for people that don't know what that means, I'm getting ready to find some clips to answer why we are doing that.
Yes, I'm a ham. My family's a ham family, Nick. You know that. So
tell them why, Matt. Tell them why Matt is a ham family. Tell them why.
Here's the thing: is that I'm ham family on multiple sides because my family growing up was a ham family at Christmas, most part, and the reason why there was because we lived on the farm, and we had pigs. So we had ham and bacon. So lots of that laying around.
Yep.
We sold the best parts of the cow, so we didn't have prime rib or anything like that. We just ended up with liver. We still had some steaks and everything like that, and ground meat and everything. But and then, fortunately, Nancy's family is a ham family because they are traditionally turkeys at Thanksgiving and ham at the holidays. I believe their history comes from the fact that Her dad and her stepmom both worked at farmland for many years, and they're like their working careers. And every year, farmland would give their employees a farmland ham.
Heck yeah!
And those things were delicious. So
for people that are wondering why. For people that are wondering why I'm at, I have a clip. For people that can't watch Sunday Sound Off here in Kansas City on KSHB 41, my employer that helps me be able to buy these things to share with you. We had a question last night on Sunday Sound Off.
I'm gonna come back to your question, Dave. Don't worry.
We will, I promise. All right, I'm not gonna wander off, and you're not gonna be able to find me for 2 hours. We'll come right back. Don't worry, I got it marked down in a chapter. So Matt, let's roll that beautiful Sunday Sound Off clip for the question that was given to you.
Question is from Mr. Mojo. That's how you will address him. What's for dinner on Christmas, Matt? How do you address that to you, man? Oh, we address that to you. What's for dinner on Christmas?
You know to bring the food questions to me, because that's how you're going to get the real answer. So, yeah, Mr. Mojo, well asked. We're a ham family, so let's just be real.
I've never heard that description.
Always been long-time ham family.
Long-time ham family.
That's where it all starts. And then when you have ham, what do you need to bat? Well, you need baked beans, barbecue baked beans with that. I'm going to make deviled eggs because I want deviled eggs. I don't care if anybody else wants them. I'm
deviled eggs is the absolute best.
I am probably also going to make my dessert that I have created. It was actually from the Great British Bake Off, the Charlotte Royale, but it was made with jam and strawberries, and I was like, no, you make it with chocolate and peanut butter. So what you do is you make a chocolate Swiss roll, and then you encase a dome of chocolate peanut butter mousse inside, and it is a thing of beauty.
I mean, it sounds like a thing of beauty. I'm in a trance right now, Matt.
I'm saying
you're a ham family.
We're a ham family, and
as opposed to like a turkey family. Is that the people you don't talk to? Like we don't talk to the turkey people.
That's right. I mean, you can't really go wrong with any food on Christmas, so I'm not going to judge. I'm not an elitist.
Sir, are you guys ham families?
We are having ham. We also have a pasta. We'll have a bunch of different side dishes as well. I just like that he took a recipe that had jam and jelly, and jam and strawberries, and turned it into chocolate and
chocolate.
Get
it out.
The frozen turkey we bought at Thanksgiving. We're going to have at Christmas.
There it is, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Every time that we watch the Great British Bake Off, I am watching it and just looking at recipes and seeing what they do, and I'm thinking, would that be better with chocolate and peanut butter?
Mm-hmm. So now everybody else is looped in on this. You're welcome.
There you go.
And I'll have another clip surprise later for people that aren't in the greater Kansas City area that come from that show as well. Sunday Sound Off. That was where I won my first Emmy. Was on Sunday Sound Off.
There you go.
All right. What was the question we had? Let's get back to that one. I think it was about stunts, right?
I'm still Emmy-less. Actually, if you would like to talk, because you are much more well informed about than me on stunts and how to handle them. So if you want to follow up on Sharon's question there and talk about, wrong question. That was not Sharon's question. That was whose question was it? Oh, there was Brandon's question. There we go.
It was Brandon's, Matt.
It was Brandon's.
Spoiler alert, Brandon. It doesn't get fixed. And the reason I say that is because Andy Heck's been working with Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor on how to pick up stunts for over a year and a half now, and they work together all the time. So if that one and look, I mean, stunts have routinely been a problem for Andy Heck coach teams since the dawn of his time in Kansas City. So I mean, Joe Tooney, whenever on his side, they do a better job. But the number one thing about stunts is you got to be able to stay on the same level, and you can't turn your shoulders and give it up. You got to be able to anticipate that. And also at times, it's going to take a lot of reps, and Caliendo and Tooney aren't going to have that together. Humphreys and Tooney aren't going to have that together. So like, that's just a thing that's going to take time and somewhat take some trust.
So short answer is not going to get fixed.
I don't think it's going to be a Christmas miracle this year.
Our next question we were getting ready to go to was Dave's question. Merry Christmas, gents, and Merry Christmas to you too, Dave. If the Chiefs clinch the 1 seed on Sunday, who do you think plays against the Broncos? So I think you're talking about in the wild card round. Got any take on that, Nick?
To have Dave kind of, if he's talking, the Chiefs play the Broncos the following week.
There you go. I think you're talking. Okay, I'm thinking about it from the playoff standpoint. You're thinking about it from the who plays for the Chiefs in Week 18 against the Broncos. There you go. That
probably about 3/4 of the team.
Yeah.
And Steven, to answer your question about Sunday Sound Off, we can't post it on podcast or YouTube. There's licensing things that's not going to work out in that front. But we do stream it live on KSHB.com. So it's on there when it happens, but that's based on when Sunday Night Football ends, and then once Sunday Night Football goes to local TV, then it's 30 minutes after that. So there's that.
There you go.
So the Texans and Chargers were the only two that put in waiver claims for Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know who on the world thought it would be a bright idea for the Chiefs to claim Deontay Johnson. I think
Matt, it wasn't. It was speculated that it could happen, but as I told you, and I posted after it went public where he was going, my belief always was that the Chiefs were being used as leverage to get another playoff team to claim him and try to see if they could get him some time on the field when playoffs roll around, so that he could basically reboot his image and reboot what he can do on the football field in the ultimate stage. Because if a team whose season ends in 2 weeks picks him up, he's not going to know enough of the playbook in time, and he's not going to be able to do enough to be able to showcase anything. But if it's a wild card or divisional team, who would at least have a chance to kind of showcase something to try to see if we can earn more than a 1-year prove-it deal next year whenever he hits free agency market. But the fact he's been on 4 teams, that was a big problem for his image, and will continue to be so. That they'll have to do a lot of rehabbing. His representation is going to have to do a lot of rehabbing at the combine with NFL teams about him.
I think you're right. I mean, somebody put it out there that the Chiefs were interested. I mean, I could speculate that it's somebody in the Deontay Johnson camp because, you mentioned it was the Chargers and whom else?
It was the Chargers and then the Texans who ended up taking him.
And the Texans. I mean, 2 teams in potential playoff contention, 2 teams that could conceivably be trying to block them from going to Kansas City. But clearly Chiefs weren't interested because they didn't put in a claim. There was no way the Chiefs were going to be interested.
No, they got a full wide receiver group.
And my feeling as far as the leverage and trying to motivate somebody, I think that somebody was just trying to make sure that he got claimed, because if he went through waivers unclaimed, that would be a bad look for Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, it would hurt that rehab.
Devastating. Yeah, I mean, if no team in the league wanted you, that's going to definitely tarnish you a little bit. So I think there was just an effort to make sure that somebody claimed him, because the Chiefs weren't claiming him. And there's a good reason why. Not just because their wide receiver room is fine right now, and they're trying to figure out a way to get these guys up to speed, especially guys like Hollywood.
Yeah.
But 2, they don't need that in the locker room. They're trying to win a Super Bowl here. They don't need somebody who's going to cause trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be real. Ozzy, let's get football out of the way. Who do you expect to not play on Wednesday? I mean, what do you think, Nick? I'm not expecting Chris Jones to play at this point. I mean, I could be surprised, but calf, short rest. I'll be honest. I think that the Chiefs can win without Chris Jones against the Steelers. I mean, I know it's a big thing to say, but
yeah,
I think they can play one game without Chris Jones.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk Chris Jones out there, because you need to worry about the three-peat part of it. You need to worry about him being 100% healthy for the playoffs. So, and you have enough guys on that defensive line that can pick him up and everything. And the Steelers, I'm just going to say the Steelers don't necessarily have an elite offensive line, and they're based on the run game and play action pass. And Russell Wilson really likes to hold on to the football, to where the Chiefs pass rush should have plenty of time to be able to get there. They should have the 4 seconds that they need to try to get home and everything. So, I mean, would it be better to have Chris out there? Yes. A healthy Chris Jones would be great out there. But a healthy Chris Jones in the playoffs is much more important than a healthy Chris Jones a 50% Chris Jones or 75% Chris Jones on 2 to 3 days of legitimate rest and a flight to Pittsburgh. So if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, Chris Jones doesn't play. Jawan Taylor, I would think would be 50-50 because they're going to be going up against TJ Watt on that side for the most part. And he looked pretty good against the Ravens. That ankle injury didn't look like it was as much of an issue as people were kind of expecting it to be. And Cameron Hayward's going to be tough no matter who's at that left guard center spot because Cameron Hayward's he's a force. I'm interested to see if DJ Humphries can play. I'm hoping he does just so he can get some more opportunities, more snaps. But if he doesn't, then I really think he's going to play that entire Denver game. So if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, those are the primary ones. And then after that, you go from there. But if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, I want to have a run heavy passing offense, use some play action pass off of it, have the quick screens like they did, work some of those, and I would minimize taking deep shots down the field unless you're only having 2 routes and a lot of max protection to go with it.
Yeah, and obviously the natural question going from Ozzy's question is to RJ's question. If the Chiefs win on Wednesday, who's the starting line versus Denver? I mean, to me, since I don't think DJ Humphries is playing against the Steelers, if DJ Humphries is ready, I would give him at least a half. Maybe even let him play the game. Yeah. But I think he would start at left tackle just to knock the rust off, get some more snaps in this offense, let him play. I think I would let Wanya Morris play right tackle. Give Jawan and that knee a week off. Give him plenty more rest. Let Wanya get some more snaps just in case you need him during the postseason. So it's distinctly possible. I mean, you're going to need him. So to me, give him some snaps. Joe Tooney, I would give. Creed Humphrey, I would give. Trey Smith, I would give all 3 of those guys the weekend off. Find out what you got with Hunter Norzad and CJ Hansen. I mean, those are 2 guys. One of them could certainly be a starter next year. So I think you want to find out what you have on that interior. If you got Wanya and you got DJ Humphries playing on the outside, that helps a little bit. That's what I want to take a look at, Nick.
Yeah, I think like you said, if Humphries doesn't play against the Steelers, he's got to get 30 plus snaps against the Broncos. Like you got to do that. You got to get that rust knocked off, have the pads on, hitting people. You just got to do that. So, and even if he does play against the Steelers, I would still have him out there for a portion of it, just so he can get in that rhythm and everything. Then I would bring in Kingsley at some point, even if it's a halftime or whatever. Let him finish out that game, and Humphries could be like the emergency if you need to. At left guard, either Norzad or Caliendo. I would definitely like to see them both work in. Or if they want to have Norzad at center and have Hansen at a guard spot, either way, I don't care, but I want to see Hunter Norzad and Hansen out there on the football field. I want to see what Ethan Driscoll can do at right tackle. So if you want to give Wanya a week of rest, depending on what you do with Jawan this Wednesday, then I would love to see Wanya potentially out there against the Steelers if Jawan doesn't play and you got to use Wanya, do that. But make sure Driscoll gets reps so that you can evaluate him in a game situation, especially against a talented Broncos front that entire Chiefs offensive line would have to play in years to come in that scheme and kind of get a proper evaluation for them and how they stand up against one of the AFC West opponents. But this is where you get to see where they're at in terms of their development along the offensive line for a lot of the backups and what they may need to add in the offseason. So like that, just like they were able to do with the Chargers game last year, they're going to need to do that again. And then that's where you have Carson Wentz and Chris Oladokun kind of work in at quarterback. And then that's a Carson Steele game where he would get an opportunity to be the primary running back. And then if you want to bring up like an Ingram or somebody, depending on what you do roster-wise, and give them a chance, then do that. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting with that game, but I think that final game you need to use as an evaluation for what you need to add on your roster for 2025.
I'm going to throw a wrinkle at you, Nick, and see what you think.
Let's go for it, Matt.
What would you say if I said, hey, let's let Wanya play first half at right tackle and then kick him into guard for the second half and let Driscoll and Suamaria play tackles in the second half.
Not against it. And I'm kind of curious if they may try Kingsley at guard. At some point. Just throw him in, see how he does in a game situation. Because, I mean, they did that last year. They did change it up and have some guys move to different spots just so they could have tape on them in a game situation and test it out. So I would be all for that.
I'm with you. I'm okay with that. John, if Humphreys struggles the rest of the season, how long do they till they change back to Tooney? And the rest of the season. I think the only time you might see him might be against Denver. So, let's say that's the question. If he struggles against Denver, Nick, do you go? Are you willing to go into the postseason with Joe Tooney as your left tackle?
They may have to, but right now, you need to get Humphreys back on the field so you can evaluate him. And then in a couple weeks, once the playoffs happen, put him out there and then see how things go. But you technically have 3 other options that you can try in the playoffs if you have to. You can go to Tooney at tackle if you need to. And then you can go to Wanye if you need to. But you have 3 different options to work with. But Humphreys is probably the number 1 option they want to try among everything else, and then just go from there.
I can't disagree. See what happens, but I think this team's best offensive line, if all things being equal, would be DJ Humphreys at left tackle and Joe Tooney at left guard.
Yep.
I know there's an argument to be made that maybe they're better. Maybe they're a better team with Wanye Morris at right tackle. I don't know that we've seen enough, sample size to buy into that.
Yeah, you haven't seen enough. What if he were to have to go against TJ Watt? You would definitively get your answer, and that's not a knock on Wanye. That's just if he could hold up against TJ Watt and look more comfortable against TJ Watt at right tackle, then then you got something that you can start to entertain and hey, what has to happen in 2025? But that means he has to physically go at right tackle against the Steelers to make that happen.
There you go. Deborah doesn't have a question, but I just love the fact that she had some great emojis in there and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. And it's going to be a great New Year if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. I know you feel that way, Nick.
It will be if it happens. Yes, man, it will be. Speaking of, I'll be right back since she said that. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. You pop me out in a second. I will walk right back in here in a minute.
I'm glad, Mark, you are also I loved Radio Shack. And if you've ever, if for anybody else, any of you youngsters who are here, if you haven't seen some of the Radio Shack commercials from the 80s, 70s and 80s and everything, those things were awesome. I know the stuff that they had, now is so blasé and so old fashioned, but my goodness, Radio Shack was the best place in the world, especially to go at Christmas. And just, I was always just going to Northtown Mall in Springfield, Missouri, Radio Shack. That was my jam, man. Albert, who's more likely to be on the team next season, D-Hop or Hollywood? For how much? It's a great question, Albert. I think there's a chance that you could get both of these guys back at below market deals because on the one hand, I think that D-Hop has certainly enjoyed winning. I think he's enjoyed Kansas City. I think he's enjoyed the fact that, that he doesn't have to be the guy all the time. He obviously is the man, but he doesn't have to be the man all the time. I think he enjoys that. Like I said, the winning is a big part of it. And so, I think there's a potential there. Hollywood, he's still in the prime of his career, so I would not blame him whatsoever for going for the money. But, what kind of money's there? That's going to be the question. Because of the injury, is he going to be back in another prove it situation? And if he is, I'd come back. If I were him, I'd come back. I'd come back and play with Mahomes and even if you got a ring, come back and try and get one more. That's the way I feel. Nope. I may have brought you back too early, Nick.
Oh, my goodness, Matt. Why would you do this to me?
I thought you were ready.
No, that's fine. No. Lombardi decided to join the show. It's very thoughtful of Lombardi.
This is very thoughtful of Lombardi.
No, it's super kind of Lombardi.
It was very shiny too. It's very big.
Yeah, no, it's not tiny. Yeah, you're right. It's not tiny. There. Let's see. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. It's the last one against the Raiders. Or at the Raiders Stadium. Sorry. All right, Matt. I'm going to go back to my other screen.
Okay.
I'm going to hide this in a second. Don't you worry.
Okay. You want me to take you off?
Nope, you're fine. We've already ruined the mystery.
We've already ruined the mystery. It's all my problem. My fault. I'm sorry.
Whoa. Hey, we're not doing that, okay? We're not blaming ourselves.
I always blame
self-loathing today. It's Christmas time, Matt, and I'm off all week until Saturday.
I bring this up, Brian's comment, because he says Nick does bear a strong resemblance to the boss elf that was yelling at Ernie because he wanted to be a dentist. I actually went to college with a guy who looked exactly like the elf who wanted to be a dentist. And I know to you here, because this. I mean, obviously this was in claymation, so you should know better. But this guy, Brent, he went and studied in Germany for a year. And while he was in Germany, he had people who came up to him and asked him if he was the elf who wanted to be a dentist. It's
impressive.
It's a very impressive.
Big if true.
Nick Samuel wants to know any ideas why D-Hop is still limited. Haven't seen him out there as much.
Yeah,
what was his snap counts this week? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, people keep asking that over and over again, and I'm going to tell you two things. Like, one,
36 snaps, 49% against the Texans.
So, part of it could be, reducing what they give to him draft pick wise. Because I don't have all the numbers on that, but I know between it being a fourth or whatever the other one was going to be, he had to have a certain snap count and certain stipulations. I don't remember them all offhand. Don't really care, because the key one was if they got to Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl. So that's number one. You got to worry about that part first. Then the other part is everybody. Like I want to keep telling you, whether it's Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. Right now, if you can throttle back on each of them and still win football games, then do it. Like that's because then you can. You don't wear them out whenever it comes playoff time, and then you go full throttle. Like everybody's wanting to go full throttle every single game. No, don't do it. For guys like DeAndre Hopkins, for Chris Jones, for Patrick Mahomes, if we can here pretty soon, and Travis Kelce and the guys that are above the age of 28, if you can give them rest, then do it. Give them the opportunities to kind of be fresh come playoff time when their situational awareness, their ability in clutch moments to make those plays, like when DeAndre had both his feet, dotted the I's right inside the boundary, caught that pass, controlled the ball, and did everything. That's what you need come playoff time. So you need him to deliver that knowledge to Xavier Worthy, to Nico Remigio, to push those young guys and be that veteran mentor for them right now. That's where he can help in this moment more so than him playing 40, 50, 60 snaps. If he's only out there on third downs or second downs and helps them convert over and over again, boom, done. Magic. They keep converting, score touchdowns, win the game. But at the end of the day, too many people want to win battles instead of focusing on the war. The war is a three-peat, my friends. So if you want a three-peat, you've got to be able to manage guys that are above the age of 28. And you got to be able to keep them healthy so you can have them for 100% of the snaps when it actually matters. Like snap counting in my book is one of the dumbest things in the world. Like each week whenever I put it out, people are like, well, how come this person only got 12 snaps? This person only got 10 snaps. This guy got 0 snaps. I don't care. Whatever gets them ready on the practice field or in the meeting room or whatever gets them to when the playoffs happen, and they've got to make the difference in those games. Like Jaden Hicks. Take it. Matt and I kept telling you over and over again that second half of the season is when he was going to finally start to ascend into being on the field and being the player that they were coaching and working with in training camp. And guess what? He's had 2 interceptions in 2 weeks because of it. And he showcased that athletic ability, and he's out there crushing it. And teams are a little bit more discouraged about throwing the deep ball when Jaden Hicks is out there now because of the speed and range he has and the size and the ability to be able to lay people out for fun. not just for work or a bonus, but for fun. Because Jaden Hicks is in the Christmas spirit all the time. He likes to deliver hits.
Hey, that's a very violent Santa that Jaden Hicks is.
He doesn't have to be Santa. He can be Santa's helper of pain.
I think he'd be the Grinch. He'd be stealing Christmas from wide receivers.
So we just found hot button number 1. Congrats on that one, Samuel.
There you go.
That
about
was
DeAndre Hopkins snaps, or about Jaden Hicks?
Just snaps in general.
Well, looking it up, yes. I mean, that 5th round pick upgrades to a 4th if he plays 60% of the snaps and the Chiefs make the Super Bowl. He is below 60% right now. He only gone above 60% once. He played 65% against the Broncos. Had one game where he was at 60%. Every other game he's been below 60. So the Chiefs are going to come in below that threshold. Now they could obviously add some more snaps in the postseason. If you sit DeAndre in week 17 or limit his snaps a little bit more, that probably buys you some room. But the Chiefs have definitely done what they can to try and make sure that they're only giving up a 5th and not a 4th. Like I said, postseason, all bets are off. I think you're just going to let him play as much as you need him to play.
Right.
And,
but if you time that out and you manage it statistically, like, Mike Frazier is more than capable of, you can know the right amount of snaps that you need to kind of keep him at. Especially if he doesn't have to play much in the Steelers game and doesn't have to play at all in the Broncos game.
Yeah.
And,
you can buy a lot of snaps there.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Think about the war, not the battle. You trying to three-peat, or you just trying to win the week? Come on.
And I mean, the Chiefs aren't going to let a 4th or a 5th round pick stand between them and winning a Super Bowl. I mean, if they felt like they needed to play him 70% of the snaps in order to win, they would do it. But they're 14-1, haven't had to do it. So and honestly, I mean, right now they're exactly where they wanted to be, and they were hoping they would be. They've got Hollywood at the X, they've got Xavier at the Z, they've got DeAndre as the slot, and you're not always going to have a slot receiver. If you're in 12 personnel, or got 3 tight ends on the field, not always going to be in there, and there's going to be some packages that DeAndre is not designed for. So I think they're using it exactly how they wanted to. So
yep.
Let's see. We kind of already answered that one. And yes, Nick can't post the Sunday sound off as much as he wants to.
Nope.
Fake fumble that the Lions might try to execute against the Chiefs if we see them in the playoffs. I laugh so hard. I'm going, you fake a fumble. It'll be a fumble when Chris Jones is in the house.
I guess I don't remember this play.
Yeah, the Lions had a little sneaky snickerdoodle yesterday that they tried to pull off, and
I haven't got to them yet. Yeah.
I mean, Deborah, to me, it fits in with the category of. I mean, I think Dan Campbell's a heck of a coach. I mean, he's done better than I gave him credit for, because I thought after the opening press conference that he kind of was the butt of a lot of jokes. I was kind of the same. I thought, this shtick's not going to play. I had people tell me, no, don't worry. He's a really, really good coach. This is going to work out. And it has. But he's also still a young head coach, and he takes a lot of chances. Sometimes those chances pay off. Sometimes they blow up in your face and cost you a game. So I'm not convinced that Dan Campbell's not going to be in that spot at some point in the postseason, because he kind of happened last year against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. But, Todd noting the news we haven't really talked about yet, Nick, the Chiefs signing Robert Tonyan to the practice squad, just adding more and more depth to the tight end position. And they also returned Peyton Hendershot to practice today. So even though they have continued to lose players at that tight end position, they only have 2 on the active roster right now. They continue to beef up that group.
Yeah, and Peyton, if he's on the active roster, it's going to be to replace Jack Cochran on special teams. That's primarily what that would be if that happens.
Yeah, and that's something we've kind of glossed over a little bit, but you're going to get Shamari Connor back at some point. I don't think you're going to have him against the Steelers, so it's going to be the second straight game that he'll miss. But missing Connor and Jack Cochran from special teams is kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be interested to see what happens. I think there's definitely a chance that you see Swayze Bozeman this week. Deion Bush as another practice squad elevation, filling in for Connor, another pretty good chance. Hendershot being active this week, decent chance. So we'll see what happens. But, the Chiefs because they did put to put Jack Cochran on injured reserve today. So they do have one open roster spot. Will that be back for Hendershot? Will it be Bozeman filling in for him? It's kind of hard. It's hard for me to tell at this point. I think it might be one of those two guys. At some point, you're going to have to return Hendershot because he's the one on injured reserve. You can use a practice squad elevation on Bozeman if needed. But wouldn't be surprised if you saw all three of those guys against Pittsburgh. Brad, I think our best guess is it's going to be Joe at left tackle this week, right, Nick?
I don't know. I'm hoping to see DJ Humphries out there, but I get if Tooney's at left tackle, and you go from there.
Chuck wants to know if there's any relationship problems between Veach and Spags. Feels like Spags just doesn't want to use Uche and Nelson. Thought Nelson would be coming back the cornerback 2-3 rotation. I think the Chiefs were pretty clear from the very beginning. Steven Nelson was coming in as insurance and for emergency basis, and that's kind of a little bit of what Spags reiterated on Sunday. And remember, he was coming in off the street onto the practice squad, so that he needs some time to knock the rust off and get ready and get into shape, and I think he's still working his way there. Uche is a different conversation, and I don't know if that's just that that it's a numbers game, that the Chiefs haven't been able to carry as many defensive linemen as they've wanted to because they've had to carry numbers at other places, or if this is just a case of Uche not working out that they hoped he would.
So, since we'll get this question every week on Uche from here till the season ends, no, I don't think Brett and Spagnuolo have any relationship problems because Spagnuolo has admitted before that they go to him and let him look at players before they potentially make a move. He's said that before in press conferences. So he's been consulted about it so they don't waste their time investing a resource in a player that he's not going to play if it works out. So that's the first thing I want to make perfectly crystal clear if I can. Second thing is, with Steven Nelson, like Matt said, Steven Nelson didn't have training camp. So anytime, what I need people to think of, anytime a player signs with a team, whether it's Kansas City or elsewhere, have they been in another training camp? Have they been on another roster? And if they haven't, expect 4 weeks at minimum for them to get up to par and for them to get, it doesn't matter how in shape they might be. They need shoulder pads and helmet on and things of that nature to get back into that level. And so for Steven Nelson, he's needed to practice on a regular basis. And Spagnuolo admitted that he was on the scout team the past couple of weeks guarding the Chiefs receivers. And he needs that time. That's his training camp, is being the scout cornerback that Steve Spagnuolo talked about on Sunday when Matt and I were on that Zoom. So any guy who signs, especially a guy who is quote unquote been on the couch, even though they're not really on the couch, but they've been at home, they need a month to develop and get to that point. So I know people think, well, they're perfectly in shape all the time. They sign this week. Why aren't they playing on Sunday? That's just not. It's not Madden. It's real world stuff. So expect a month anytime you get somebody. Now with Joshua Uche, what I've said on here before, and I'll continue to say again, he's not what they normally have at defensive end against the run. He's a pass rushing specialist. So if they were playing if they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals this week, you get Uche out there because they're going to pass 40 to 50 times in that game, and that's where he could really truly shine. But with the way the Chiefs go about things, the way they approach things, there's certain packages and certain ways they like to attack. And especially against the Steelers this week, I'm personally not – now that I've said this, he probably will play a whole bunch, but I'm personally not expecting to see a ton of him if he's not inactive because Malik Herring and Felix Ndiki-Uzama, those guys are stouter against the run. So those guys can hold up against the run, and the Steelers probably going to run the ball a lot. So having guys like that, especially with Chris Jones gone, that I think is going to be a higher priority than having a pass rushing specialist who is supposed to, who probably isn't going to help much in the run stuffing game. But then also, if he is coming, it's because of a play action pass or they're in shotgun. So him being out there does give a little predictability in terms of what Steve Spagnuolo may call. And then so the Steelers are like, okay, they brought in Uche now, so they think we're going to pass on this play. And then maybe there's a check they have out of it. So again, it's those little miniature tiny battles that each team has against each other at all times. So the more players you can have that aren't specialists out on a football field, the less you give away about what you're doing.
And I'll add one more thing. I mean, I would not be surprised if, not necessarily subconsciously, but the Chiefs, if they acquired Uche with the idea that if they're facing a specific team in the playoffs, that they feel like that maybe that's when he needs to be unleashed, that they feel like he's a player who can beat somebody on a specific opponent.
Is there an opponent you have in mind, Matt?
There's a few that might fit in. Any that come to the top of your mind?
Ravens.
It rhymes with the one I was thinking.
Ravens are like that's the number one, to where he's got the athletic ability and change of direction to be able to keep up with Lamar, who may be screaming off the edge and everything. And that one, you would have to trust your defensive tackles and linebackers to be able to fill those gaps. And Uche's out there to potentially go against him. Maybe Uche, maybe he's your spy for some Josh Allen guy. Maybe he's the spy for Lamar. And you don't want to reveal that right now, but you can work on that in practice like crazy and on scout team if you need to. And nobody is the wiser. We don't get to see it. Fans don't get to see it. The media doesn't get to see it. Unless there's unidentified drones flying all over, they don't get to, nobody else gets to see it.
Never know what lurks in the trees, Nick.
Matt, you can't fly a drone inside the trees. They're too together with branches.
We've always had the conspiracy theory, of course, that Bill Belichick had some trees installed in the cameras installed in the trees along the Chiefs practice field. They're probably still there. Somebody could tap into them.
Matt, it's a perfect time for the disclaimer. I do not personally believe that.
Do I still have that available? Oh, we do.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's the ticker that keeps on giving, man.
Todd, please, no more Justin Watson on deep routes. Please stop it now. I mean, I'm kind of the same way, Nick. Nothing against Justin Watson. I just think he's a half step slower than he used to be.
Over time, I think Hollywood Brown will replace that. But it's not a bad thing if you don't put too much of it on tape right now. And then, hey, Hollywood, right now, you need your O-line to be settled overall. Once that's settled and you're good from a protection perspective, Hollywood Brown, go. Xavier Worthy, go. Maybe you max protected against the Steelers with the play action pass. You've run it enough, then you get in the third quarter. Hollywood Brown there, Worthy there, chuck it deep and see what happens. And even if it doesn't work, you've now got that on tape, and teams are like, all right, when we see that, that's a possibility. So we're going to have to keep too deep on that. Can't run that single high anymore against that formation. If I'm the Chiefs, I'd do that a couple times once that O-line gets into a rhythm.
I talked about this while you were out momentarily. So I'll let you take it this time around. This is a different version of it. Brian, is DeAndre Hopkins going to retire a Chief?
I don't. I guess it's just a matter of how long he wants to play. Because, I mean,
he's only 32. He's got plenty in the tank.
But like I said, it's all just a matter of how much he wants to play. How much fun is he having? How much does he enjoy being in town? And all those things combined, I think, will answer that question in the offseason. I doubt he's wanting top dollar now. But hypothetically, say the Chiefs complete the three-peat and they win the Super Bowl. Does he feel like he's accomplished everything he wants to? And does he, and is there anything left that he's still got in the tank that he wants to try to do at that point? Whether it's in the NFL with a record maybe he wants, or is it something Or if the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl, does he want to try to come back and do it again with the Chiefs next year? So I think it's all just a matter of what factors. But it seems like he's having fun. I mean, when he's at the podium, as long as you ask football questions like I do, he seems into it. Now, when you start asking, a question on top of question on top of question, and he's like, yeah, that was like 3 questions. Which one do you want me to answer? That's when he gets like me on a Q&A sometimes. But yeah, no, I mean, look, he's been great for this football team. He's been huge for Xavier Worthy's growth this year. And I'm just going to say it now. Whenever he does retire, if I'm the Chiefs, I look for a way to try to bring him in as a coach and work his way up through the system if he wants to. He may not want to, but I think he would sneakily make a fantastic wide receivers coach, and if he's got bigger aspirations, and that's something I kind of want to talk to him about down the road. And Matt, you may want to talk to him in the locker room down the road and kind of find out what he wants to do after football, because I'm telling you, man, I think he'd make a heck of a wide receivers coach. And if he wants to do more than that and be an OC someday, maybe he wants to be a head coach something, whether it's college, pro, high school, I don't know, but I think he has a coaching future if he wants it.
I need to step out for a quick moment, Nick, so I'm bringing up a question that I know you have many thoughts about. I don't know if you're going to be enthusiastic about talking about it, because you did talk about it on 41 is the mic, I think.
That's fun. It's a new day, Matt. I've reset.
This is a great topic for you.
Let's light this candle, Matt. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Nick Unplugged. No, I'm just kidding. Dr. Ozzy, do you think the Chiefs will figure out that you need to cover the flats before the playoffs? If I watch a tight end or running back leak out into the 20 yards of space again, I might cry. Well, Dr. Ozzy, don't cry, okay? It's the Christmas spirit and Christmas holiday, so I don't want that for you, okay? Yeah, I think the Chiefs sometimes, I think they're willing to, like I talked about, to maybe lose a battle on a down and distance to win the overall game. So they didn't want to get beat deep. And part of the strategy sometimes when you do that, depending if it's third quarter, fourth quarter, maybe you're like, hey, if they take the delayed release and take that one and everything, and they stay, and the Chiefs are like, we stay back at the zone and zone coverage at the sticks, you're okay with that as long as you keep them in bounds. That potentially may become a win on that play because you're trusting your players to be able to rally to before the sticks to make the tackle, but then you're also of the belief that it's going to burn up more time on the clock. So you can still potentially win in that way, and a lot of NFL teams do that. So I get what you're saying, and like I talked about in the podcast that Matt was referencing, one of the things I'll say with that is that with the Chiefs, I think part of it is that the Chiefs need to add that into their game, especially on when they think there's going to be a blitz or something. Maybe in the weeks ahead, or maybe come playoff time, you keep a tight end in, or you keep a receiver in, or something that helps Chip, helps kind of hang out there in like an extra defender, extra protection, pass protector role, and then they delay out like a tight end delay, receiver delay, whatever type of delay you want to call it, into the flats. And it doesn't even have to be a 2nd and 20 or 3rd and 20, just in general to have that safety valve in a different way for Mahomes to know he has a check down off the initial blitz and everything. So if route 1, route 2, maybe route 3 aren't there, and that route 4 he may have not gotten to, he knows, hey, I got a delay on this side. It's going to be there to essentially be the equivalent of the check down for them. So for me, I think that's what I hope down the road, Matt Nagy and Andy Reid and the Joe Blameyer and the entire Chiefs offensive coaching staff figure out and add as a part of their game, because the Texans did a phenomenal job with that. And I was impressed with the Texans using that because it did work out in their favor. Now, part of that may be you have to use zone coverage to be able to do part of that. And now that Matt's back, I don't have to continue to filibuster anymore like I'm on the house floor on C-SPAN. So thank you, Matt.
I probably turned into like an episode of The West Wing there for a moment. So
people were probably like, is he done talking yet? And I'm like, guys, here's the spoiler alert. I can't go to the next question because I can't do the administrator stuff. because I had to remove myself from that so I could always be able to tweet this out and promote the show. And I didn't have a video. I have a video clip, but I wasn't going to be able to set that up. So it's one of those times where, hey, I got to fill till I see Matt back on the screen, so I'm going to filibuster like crazy. But Matt, I was running on empty. I'm not going to lie.
You're a champ, though. I mean, and I think you were able to do it because of the sport coffee. So
I was able to do it because I work in television.
There's that too.
And luckily, I'm knowledgeable about the topic. I mean, ask me about basketball or golf or something like that. It wasn't going to work out well, and I was just going to stare at the screen, and people were going to stare awkwardly back at me. And then I'd go into talking about my favorite Christmas movies. But don't you worry, Matt. I had stuff I could be able to pivot.
Dr. Ozzy, Circuit City, may you rest in peace. I mean, all the old electronics brands were fantastic. Nick, do you remember that electronics store that opened up in Kansas City?
It's called Circuit City. No, I'm just kidding.
It was down the street from Circuit City. It was open for like a week before the company declared bankruptcy and closed. But it's where the Savers is now. But it was like literally open for like a week before the company declared bankruptcy. And I think the only thing I ever bought there was a Green Day CD.
I don't remember there being anything other than I don't remember there ever being anything other than Circuit City and Best Buy in the Northland. Well,
I can't remember what it was. It was like, I think, a company from Wisconsin or something.
Yeah, it probably wasn't mainstream enough for me to be able to know because it obviously it wasn't Radio Shack because it's mainstream for everybody, and Radio Shack was in Liberty. Yeah, Matt, I don't know, but I do remember there was a BrandsMart in town. Not there at that Saber spot, but I remember BrandsMart.
BrandsMart infamous for the promotion that they had. Weren't they the ones that had the promotion? Like if the Chiefs scored like 50 points, you got 50% off your electronics for Christmas.
I remember one time it was if the Chiefs defense got a shutout, and I remember they got a shutout.
Oh, that's right. That's the one I'm thinking.
Things
yes.
did not go well for them, and I don't remember if their insurance covered everything on what they had, what the discount
that's
was.
That's the one it was. Yes.
But yeah, no, they normally had deals like that, and I know they kind of use Chiefs players to kind of help promote their brand in different ways back then. And we're talking mid-late 90s when Andre Rison was a wide receiver and pretty well associated with BrandsMart.
and you wonder why BrandsMart isn't around anymore.
I don't know. They might be a different name now, you know?
They had to change their name after being associated with Andre Rison.
I don't think that's why. Matt, disclaimer, please. You honestly should just leave this up because we're going to do this again. You're going to put me in a bad spot because Matt doesn't have as many business ventures to worry about as I do. And I don't mean ventures. I mean ways that could burn me.
Nick just hasn't reached the point in his life where I just don't care anymore. So.
Well, I also work. Never mind. Forget it.
I'm gonna come up with the disclaimer for Nick here in a minute.
Nope, that's why I shut it down right there.
I am not responsible for anything that Matt tempts me to say while I'm under the influence of sport coffee.
Nope, I'm not dragging sport coffee into this either, sir.
We've talked a little bit about Humphries, but I'm bringing this up because Ponto's not alone. I've been asked this question a couple of times now, and I've seen it pop up online as well and everything about Humphries being an example of what happens when you bring in broken goods. Brett needs to spend a little more on healthy players. I mean, to me, DJ Humphries, one, you haven't exhausted what you can get out of DJ Humphries. You may still be very, very happy with what you get out of him. But two, this was a low risk, high reward investment. I mean, DJ Humphries didn't cost you really much of anything, Nick.
Ponto just found hot button number 2 that I didn't even know I had, but here we are.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you, Ponto. I got a good stocking stuffer for you today, buddy. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Hey, spoiler alert, if a player is on the open market right now, by your definition, they probably are broken goods in some capacity, whether it's a health-wise, technique-wise, maybe age-wise. That's why they're on the open market right now. Because if they were at a certain level, teams would have already signed them in training camp and would have done that. So in Humphrey's situation, the Chiefs, once he got cleared, they were willing to bring him in. So, but the kicker of it is, like we just talked about previously, guys need 4 weeks. You got to be realistic and let a guy work back into shape and everything. Fortunately, Humphries, they really needed him quicker than they would have preferred. So they put him out there, and he did do some good work out there. but it rushed it a little bit more so than I would have done if I were in their shoes. But they did it, and so they're being cautious because, again, that was one of those times where they kind of went more for the battle because they wanted to guarantee the AFC West and be able to stay ahead of the Bills and everything. So that's what they ended up doing. So I get what you're saying, but the Chiefs are always going to be limited salary cap wise because of how many good players they have on their roster and how many of those star players they're having to pay right now to be able to do this thing called a three-peat. So that's where I'm at on that one.
I mean, that was a pretty good rant, but
it wasn't an agitated rant. It was a respectful.
That was a respectful rant, yeah. And not blowing Pano out here for any reason, but it's just because I think this has been a very common refrain. But you know what? I mean, that's the thing is that to me, it's a very low risk investment. I mean, if he hit, you're in great shape, and if he doesn't, it didn't really cost you anything. It didn't cost you a draft pick. It only cost you a little bit of money, and you weren't going to be getting anybody else at this time of year. Mm-hmm. It's not like you spent $18 million on the guy. It's a couple of million. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, a drop in the bucket. There is one question I'm going to come back to if I can get my PDF maker to work, so I can show you something that will probably require more of the disclaimer, Nick.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Jesus wants to know when Bolton's getting his extension.
I think right now you got to let him play it out. And if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, I let him test out the negotiations during the free agency market to find his rate and to see if it matches what the Chiefs think he's worth. That's what I would do if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes. And then also, if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes too, I see if Steve Spagnuolo gets a head coaching job first. And then if he does, maybe the scheme is a little different. Maybe the scheme they do a little bit different, and it's changed up a little bit to where Nick Bolton may not be what they necessarily need at middle linebacker. So those are things you all got to be mindful of. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. Doesn't mean that he's not a great run support defender. Doesn't mean they didn't hit hard. It's just he's got his limitations athletically and in coverage, and those are always going to be reasons. If I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, I would not necessarily pay top of the market dollar at linebacker. But every agent is always going to try to get top dollar. So you kind of got to let the market speak for that player sometimes. And this is one of those times where I'm saying, hey, let the market speak for the player.
Not a bad idea. And I mean, I think you're certainly, if you're the Chiefs, you've got two guys that are right now in your kind of priority for your March free agents, and Trey Smith and Nick Bolton. Given your choice about which one you get done first, I mean, I think the Chiefs would probably have Trey Smith ahead of Nick Bolton.
I mean, I would, but I don't know. I don't know where they're at in their front.
Might not be what Spags wants, because the players will tell you that Nick Bolton's his favorite. But
Chris Jones has made sure to mention that multiple times.
He's not the only one.
Gone out of his way.
He's not the only one who said that either. So, you are actually giving off some really Jason Kelce vibes to me, Nick, right now. So
sounds good to me. Maybe I can get some of those commercials that he does about Chunky Campbell soup or something.
Scott, if Tooney moves on for salary cap reasons, is Caliendo the future left guard?
I think you let him and Hunter Norzad potentially battle if that's assumption is that Trey Smith is going to be back around. Otherwise, you don't have a choice, and you may have to have both of them. But Tooney has not hurt himself by his ability to jump out to tackle for a couple games if needed. That has only helped his cause. Now, if I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, I'm chatting with him in the offseason and like, hey, is there something we can do to get this overall cap number down to keep you here, but not have the cap number be that much so Trey can get paid and you and Creed and Trey can stay together?
Yeah, because, I mean, his cap number, if I'm not mistaken, for next year, I think it's $17 million in salary, and I think it's $10 million in dead cap. Could be the other way around, but I think that's the way it is, like 16.9 maybe in base salary.
Yeah, so I mean, on the offensive line next year with Joe Tooney's cap hit is $26.9 million. And if they were to move on from him, they get $16 million back in cap savings. So if you can figure out a way to drop that 26 overall, still let him get paid in some way to where he still makes that number that he was going to potentially make. but also use it to be able to pay Trey or to be able to pay somebody else to bring in along the offensive line or on the defensive line. You may have to be creative on that front, because the two biggest names you're going to have to figure out next off season is what do they do financially with Joe Thuney? Do they need to move any of Patrick Mahomes' roster bonus of the $32.3 million that they have? And does Travis Kelce return next year? And then if Kelce doesn't return next year, that's a $19.8 million cap hit that maybe they have that cap space that they weren't planning before that they can adjust and use however they see fit. Chris Jones, you don't mess with. You let him do his thing. And Jawan Taylor's, people keep asking about Jawan Taylor after Wanya Morris is filling in the fourth quarter, but Jawan Taylor's contract, whenever they move some money around, set it up to where they were going to have to keep him in 2025. The only way you could potentially move him is if they were potentially exploring a trade, because if they explored a trade before June 1st, they could potentially get $12.6 million back in cap space to be able to utilize.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it'd be great if Joe Thuney would take a discount, take a cut to stick around with this team. You could do that. There's a lot of ways with the cap that you could obviously save a lot of money. If you want to split the difference with him, pay him half of what he's got coming to him, and then kick some of that into future years, you could squeeze Joe Thuney in which case you then kind of roll with what you got this year. But then again, I mean, it could be Caliendo that could step in. It could be Hunter Norzad that steps into that spot. I mean, the Chiefs drafted Norzad and Hansen for a reason. I mean, they knew that they were going to be going into this offseason knowing that they could lose they knew they were going to have Thuney, Creed, and Trey Smith as all potentially either cap victims or free agents. They've secured Creed Humphrey. Now they got to figure out what they're going to do with the other two spots. I mean, it's entirely possible the Chiefs don't have Thuney or Trey Smith back next year. So there's still some things to figure out.
Yep.
Dan Orlovsky is convinced the Chiefs stumbled upon their perfect O-line with Morris at right tackle and Thuney at left tackle. Do you guys believe that? I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I think it's much too early to say that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know they want to. I know everybody wants to base an entire season off one game, but look, people. Here it is. It's part of the thing I talk about with expectations sometimes, and part of that is that people think the Chiefs were going to get torched because Mahomes' ankle and what the Chiefs were going to do at tackle. They thought the Texans front four was going to torch the Chiefs. So when they didn't, they're like, oh, okay, well maybe it's because of this and this, and they're trying to find answers to it, and they're trying to find what they think happened to it. Well, it was, in my opinion, it was a lot of different things. One was they were getting the ball out quick. It was a priority for them to get the ball out quick. Those wide receiver screens were a much bigger priority this week than they were in past weeks. And part of that's because they had both Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. So it didn't get predictable of, okay, Xavier's over here with trip set. They're going to throw it to him over and over again. They had times where it created variety. So they kept the defenses guessing. That's why the importance of having both of them out there was that. So we've already named two parts of it. Another part of it is the fact that, Tim Settle didn't have the game that he thought he was going to. And if he could have been disruptive, maybe that changes for those guys along the end. I mean, Will Anderson's a good rusher. Danielle Hunter, I understand that he was a good rusher in Minnesota, but he didn't really jump out to me on coach's film when I was watching him in the weeks ahead. I'm like, all right, Tim Settle had bigger games than he did. So once they neutralized Tim Settle in that game, I was like, I don't think they're going to have much. They just got to focus on Will, and then I think they're good. But they negated them by boom, boom, ball out in under 2.5 seconds. That's how you negate a pass rush. That's what happens to the Chiefs sometimes with the pass rush that they have. So that's just part of that process.
Indeedly doodly.
Ah, yeah, Ned Flanders. I love it. Oakley dokley.
Oakley dokley, indeedly doodly. Hey, neighborino. There we go. Scott, have the Chiefs given up on FAU? He's barely playing now with a Minihue back, and he did have just 6 snaps last week, Nick.
Look, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Is he better against the run? Yes. He's improved in that, so I want people to know that. But I personally think he's more of a wide 9 pass rusher, and I think that's a different system than what the Chiefs play personally. I think that's where his ultimate skill set's at, and I think that's where he'll do better overall. So down the road, I wouldn't be surprised if after his rookie contract's up, he goes to defense, and if he goes to defense that's got wide 9, like a San Francisco 49ers style, I wouldn't be stunned if he didn't have better success, or if he went to Houston and had better success as an edge rusher, because if he can come at an angle in a wide 9 scheme, it's just better for him overall. But what I hate to say it, but what he's learning in the scheme is going to help him stay in the NFL if he wants to after his contract's done, is he will be good against the run, and that'll be appealing to teams that potentially want to use him as a rusher in that way.
And I'm going to go back and look it up just to make sure I've got the right number here. But yeah, I mean, he has not yet turned 23. I mean, he's going to turn 23 next month. So, and still incredibly young, for a first round pick from 2 years ago. I mean, the Chiefs knew that he was he still had a lot of development when they drafted him. So I haven't seen any evidence that they've necessarily given up on him. And I certainly give the possibility that he still has room to grow, that he has a ceiling that he just hasn't reached yet. Is it in Kansas City? I don't know, but we'll find out. Next year's the make or break year. That's the year that either, he finally breaks out, establishes himself, shows that potential, or maybe the Chiefs do try, maybe there's a better pasture for him. John, any chance Chris Oladokun gets a start against Denver if the game is meaningless? He is a former Jackrabbit from South Dakota State, after all. I would love to see it. I'd love to at least see him be the backup that day. I mean, Carson Wentz is going to, if that game is meaningless for the Chiefs, Carson Wentz is going to start.
Carson needs the reps. He needs the snaps just in case they do need him in a situation in the playoffs. But you want to see Chris get snaps too. And you want to see both of them get the opportunity to play, be in a game situation, because if they do potentially need either one of them, you want them to have some fresh snaps to kind of help them be used to that speed again that they probably aren't necessarily seeing in practice and didn't see in preseason.
Chris Fried, Kelsey. I always go back. Is it Fried or Fried? It's probably Fried. I can't remember if Chris told us this because I know we had this conversation once before, but in my brain fog, can't remember. Kelsey is 4 catches away from 1,000. Does he get those 4 catches in the first quarter on Wednesday? Do you think that's a good question? I mean, I know there's a lot of speculation about Travis and retirement. I'm not entirely sold on that yet, but does beg the question, Nick. I mean, do you want to make sure that Travis gets those 4 catches that he needs just in case, so you're not playing against Denver, but he's got 1,000 catches if you want him?
I don't know if you necessarily force it in the first quarter, but I mean, I would think it'd be something you try to be mindful of and try to get him in some capacity throughout the game.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe DeAndre Hopkins is 18 away. I mean, that's a little too far. I don't think you're going to get DeAndre 18 in the next 2 games. But he's right up there too. And one thing that the Chiefs have not really had to face yet is the possibility. I mean, remember, they've got the 2 guys that have the 2 longest active catch reception streaks in the NFL. They have not had a situation yet where they've had to go into like the 3rd or 4th quarter where one or both of these guys don't have a reception yet. I mean, knock on wood, you don't want that to happen, Nick, but what do you do if you get into a spot? I mean, you're going to just force the ball to both those guys, right? You're going to make sure they get their catches.
I think at the end of the day, numbers don't. There's only one number that matters. There's only one letter that matters. And I'm going to pull an Eric Bieniemy here, and it's them winning. And numbers, they want the number to be 0 wins they have to get to hold the first round bye. I think at the end of the day, this football team, they know the finish line is here right now for the regular season. Christmas Day, they give them, if they want to, they can give themselves their own Christmas present, and why it was worth it for them to be away from their families on Christmas and to put in the time that they have throughout the season so they can gift themselves a first-round bye. They can buy their own Christmas gift through their physical play by giving themselves a first-round bye and potentially making sure that they get an additional bye because of the Broncos game. So at the end of the day, how many catches they get, all that type of stuff, I don't think they actually care, because at the end of the day, if they can put themselves in the best position to three-peat, I think that's what this team collectively is after overall, because they want that legacy moment and that arguable sports moment about how the Chiefs did something no other NFL team did during the modern free agency era and other various eras, because I'm sure the football before the AFL joined, you got the Packers reign and that type of stuff. But if you want to say modern free agency era or salary cap era, then you can say that. And then the Chiefs do something that nobody else has ever done before. And they raise this franchise to a different level that's on a sports landscape that's bigger than just the NFL.
Couldn't say better myself.
Do you want that, or do you want 4 catches? Again, battle, war.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I had 996 catches, Nick, I want my 4 catches.
And in Travis Kelce's case,
and
he could throw up the 4 Super Bowl rings and the Hall of Fame jacket and say, I'm good.
I'm going to do a very bad impersonation of my friend Jason Anderson over at Sports Radio 810.
I know him.
Doing his impersonation of Chris Jones. I want my sack. I want my sack, man. Well, George got my sack. I want my sack.
Well, there may be some bonuses on the line on that one. That's a different thing.
Chris's follow-up: Steelers are the most desperate team, but do the 4 days between games eliminate that advantage? And I did have somebody with the Chiefs today making the argument that there's no way you can count that as 4 days, because you only have Saturday or Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off, so it's only 3 days. But I mean, the Steelers, first of all, the Steelers are usually really good. I know, speaking of my friends at Sports Radio 810, I think it was the Border Patrol and Stephen St. John pointed out that, or found out, maybe it could have been Jake Gutierrez too. Steelers they were 6-1 and 3-0 against the Ravens under Mike Tomlin in division clinching games. I mean, now they're 6-2, 3-1. But I mean, the Steelers got a chance to clinch the division. I mean, that game matters to them. This game matters to the Chiefs too for the 1 seed. So both these teams have something to play for. But I don't know. I mean, hey, the Steelers were on the road. They're playing at home. Last year we saw the Chiefs play at home on Christmas Day, and they delivered a stinker. Does that history tell us anything, Nick? I mean, we've also seen the Chiefs win at home on Christmas, so I'm not convinced that means anything. But Steelers, let's put it this way: Steelers played a lot more grueling game and disappointing game than the Chiefs did.
Here's the 2 fronts that you need to remember. They played the Eagles in a really physical game. They played a very physical Eagles front on Sunday when the Chiefs were playing the Browns. And then they played a very physical Baltimore team that laid the wood on them in that game, caused Russell Wilson to fumble that ball that was potentially going to go in for a touchdown. And hit him right there in that hip, in that area, to where he coughed up that ball, probably because of how hard that hit was and how much that hit hurt. And there were some other shots that Russell Wilson took in that game from that Ravens front that, especially on the interception, the pick 6 that he gave up, and just kind of how he landed and the way he kind of laid there afterwards. I don't think he was frustrated about the interception. I think he was like, that one hurt. So I think the Ravens have had really 2 physical games, and I think the Chiefs did what they had to beat the Texans and partly get by against the Texans. Cleveland's game was obviously a physical game more so, but the Chiefs controlled that one and took their will away for the most part. And then the Chiefs were able to kind of, after the Tank Dell injury, the Texans kind of took away their own will a little bit. So at the end of the day, the Chiefs have their next goal in front of them. And it's a big goal. And they are a team that's used to having to accomplish that and be driven like that. And they have a leader in Patrick Mahomes that is going to push every single one of those guys to deliver on that in this way. They see the finish line. So I'm just telling you, I'm personally expecting as good of a performance as they can physically do, and then they throttle back if they win that game and do what they have to get ready for playoffs.
There you go. Better answer than I could have given. Thank you, Nick.
Matt, you would have given a great answer.
This is where I might get into trouble if I can go back and find the question. And this is where we're going to keep the disclaimer up just in case, so Nick can distance himself from everything that I say and do.
Should I leave the room for this one?
I don't think it's bad enough. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad enough that it's certainly not bad enough that it's going to go viral, and you know, like, you don't want to be next to me on screen when it happens. So that's not the case. We're not talking about that. But Albert, were the players given a memo to say GEHA Field instead of just Arrowhead? LOL. Well, I'm going to give you a little snippet here, because this is from the media workroom at One Arrowhead Drive. That's on the podium that you see the players and the coaches go up to. Yes, there is a please read GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium graphic on there. Now, they did cover it up with a depth chart, so this particular day you couldn't see the whole thing. But yes, the players are reminded, and I'm just telling, this is free marketing advice, Nick, to our friends at GEHA, and I'm not mocking them in any way. I'm saying GEHA, so I am giving you free advertising here. But this is my pitch, because I think this would be a winner. Is if you truly want to, build the name recognition and get your money's worth from the GEHA Field, here's what you do. You put together a spot with Justin Reed, Andy Reid, and Chris Jones, where Justin Reed is teaching Andy and Chris how to say GEHA. Because obviously, Chris calls it Jiha, and everything, and Andy just kind of says GEHA Field, so he just kind of trails off at the end of it and everything. But Justin Reed pronounces it correctly, so that's my free pitch. You get those three together, put together a spot where Justin Reed's teaching those guys how to say GEHA Field. You get a winner.
I have no notes for you, Matt. I have no notes.
You're just happy the segment is over.
No, it's fine. I mean, like, it's not a massive, like, that wasn't what I thought you were gonna do.
Oh, okay.
So you set the bar higher in other areas to where I and you can go back to 537 and point that up. Jesus there. Nope, it's not that one. It's
that's not that one.
It's 537.
Oh, I wanted it before. Rick, Nick only got paranoid when they started plotting against him.
So, Jesus, I'm going to give you some life advice here. Paranoia equals prepared, because you prepare for situations that may never happen. So, in my life, I'm actually doing situational awareness, just like the Chiefs do on the football field each week. That has made them 20-1 since that Raiders game. If you include the Raiders game like I do, which turned into some Twitter debate yesterday, we're technically 20-2 with losses to the Raiders and to the Bills. But in that time, the Chiefs have so much situational awareness, so many scenarios they've been over, that they are prepared for a lot of things, and they put themselves in a spot to be prepared for that. So for me personally, as I say time and time again, paranoia equals prepared. The more paranoid you are, the more prepared you are. But there's different levels of paranoia to where, if you don't use it to prepare, then there's, then at that point, you're just worrying. You're like sitting in a rocking chair, just passing time. But if you use paranoia right, you can prepare yourself. So it's about harnessing it correctly.
See, and I alluded to one of my favorite quotes of all time from the movie The Paper, when Michael Keaton asked the character played by what's his name, Randy Quaid. Thank you very much. When did you get so paranoid?
Did you just thank yourself?
Did I thank myself?
Yeah, you just thanked yourself. You're like, thank you very much.
I didn't know that I thanked myself.
Yeah, you said thank you very much. I mean, did you just thank yourself?
I think I did for remembering Randy Quaid's name.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Michael Keaton says to Randy Quaid's character, when did you get so paranoid? When they started plotting against me? See? Great quote.
Kenneth, 537. Got a question for you. 2 after Jesus. Right there.
How do you get your questions read? Do you have to super chat?
Question Sherpa, Matt.
Kenneth, you only have to wait 37 minutes. That's the key. Or you can super chat and move to the top of the line. And now I see that you did super chat, and I did not get a notification. So I feel really bad now.
Way to go, Matt.
I feel terrible because then 8 minutes
stop
later,
stalling. Get to it, man. Get
8
the
minutes
payoff
later,
for
Kenneth, any word on McCole? And I mean, the sad thing is I can't say that I have heard anything on McCole.
Yeah, the only thing we saw was the Instagram story that he put out there with the wrap on his knee, and that's it. So that's all that we know. And I mean, Nico Remigio's in his place right now, and Chiefs got Hollywood Brown, they got Xavier Worthy, got DeAndre Hopkins, and they've got Juju Smith-Schuster. So I mean, like, I'm not trying to be mean here, but like they're in a good spot right now. So like, until there's an injury, I think they continue to be in a good spot.
Yeah, they have not been in a kind of rush to get McCole back situation.
Question answered for Kenneth on this Christmas.
I wish we had. I truly wish we did have more details for you, Kenneth, because I know I've had a couple of people ask me, and I really haven't gotten a good answer from anybody about what his situation is and what his timeline is. But we'll redouble our efforts so that next week, Kenneth, because this is a really tough week for us because after the game on Wednesday, the Chiefs are dark, and we won't get access to anybody until like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Speak for yourself, Matt. This isn't a tough week for me at all. I am.
This is a December to remember for Nick Jacobs.
December to remember. Off Monday through Friday. Already got my truck inspected, and got family getting together on Christmas Day and the day after Christmas Day. So Matt, and I got Chiefs football I get to watch on Christmas Day. So, Matt, I don't know about you, and we got a podcast coming out this week and potentially another Q&A as well that we'll surprise people with later on down the road. So, for me, this is a week full.
Should we give the hint that people might get 2 in the same week?
Certainly possible, Matt. It's all going to be up
Certainly
to
possible.
you.
Certainly possible. There might be a lot of content in the next 4 or 5 days. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're experiencing part of it right now.
Part of it right now.
You're welcome.
And Bobby also, because I did not get a notification on these last 2. I did get a notification on the third, which is why I now have seen both Kenneth's and Bobby's. But Bobby, appreciate the super chat. What are you hearing on when Chris could return? I mean, Chiefs have once again. I mean, they've been pretty tight-lipped on this one too. I don't anticipate that he's playing against Pittsburgh, and then that will raise the question of if the Chiefs don't need the win at Denver, does he play against Denver? I would think not. So we'll see what happens, but I think there's entirely a possibility you've seen the last of Chris Jones until the postseason.
Fingers crossed in a good way.
And I'm just gonna say that's not a bad thing to me.
That's a great thing, because all you do is you know who else hopes that's the same case too in a great way.
Steve Spagnuolo and Joe Cullen
and Andy Reid. So you stop asking him the question every week at the press conference. They're hoping for that too, Matt.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people, especially with the workload Chris has had. I mean, I don't think they'd have any problems, giving him a couple of weeks off and
celebrate it, Bobby.
Meant that he had 3 weeks off because of a bye week. Yeah, I mean,
this week, Broncos week, 3 weeks before the game and 4 weeks.
If Chris had something to play for, I know he would want to try and get out there and be part of it. Like if, there was a sack bonus or, I think that just because of the numbers, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I mean, I think that Chris Jones has been one of the best defensive players in the league this year. But he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year because he doesn't have a ton of sacks. And that's how they pick it. if he had a chance to win that award, I mean, I think he would try and play, but he doesn't. So there's no reason to play Chris Jones. I would sit him the last 2 weeks and see what happens. Matthew, also with the super chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. We appreciate you too, Matthew.
In, Matt.
Do you already have 3 of those or just the one?
I don't know.
I felt the Pirine signing was sneaky big, predicting a postseason immortal play by him. Any intuition on other dark horse heroes, Nick?
Matt, why don't you give your dark horse heroes? Okay.
I mean, I feel like it's just an easy prediction at this point because it's just going to happen. I mean, if I had to think of just one non-starter right now that I just know is going to make a huge play in the postseason, I mean, and Pirine is a great pick. I mean, he might be my offensive pick. Defensively, it's going to be Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks is going to make a big interception, a turnover, something like that.
Yeah, he would be one that I would throw in there. My biggest hope, though, is the entire Chiefs offensive line. That's my biggest hope.
There you go.
Anybody along the Chiefs defensive line that can make some key plays in the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for.
Anyone in particular, or you just want the entire offensive line to be playing like studs?
I'm in the giving spirit, so I want to give all of them the opportunity.
Well, all 3 of you, Kenneth, Bobby, Matthew, truly appreciate the super chat. Kenneth and Bobby, sorry I did not see them earlier. Notifications stink sometimes, so I apologize for that. All right, Nick, where are we? I know we were like 538.
Before that, you were at. I don't remember the question you were at because I'm looking at this and Gary showed up, so everybody is all about that life now. I'm saying hi to Gary.
I think we were.
Hi, Gary.
I say we were caught up. We're only 30,
dude. You were never
37 minutes behind. Hey, you know what it's time for?
You can say it, but it doesn't mean anything anymore if you don't execute it.
Lightning round.
It's like saying we're gonna do the 2-minute drill and it's really takes 10 minutes.
I'm gonna lightning round my hindy off right now. So
I'll believe it when I see it, sir. I'll believe it when I see it.
You know what, Gabriel? It could have. I think it was Ultimate Electronics. I think you may be right here.
Look at Matt already wandering off lightning round.
I'm done. I'm moving on.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, Kylie loves the podcast, so thank you, Kylie.
Lightning round, actual lightning round.
I'm looking through the comments and I'm trying once again, everybody, put your question in front and we'll see. There you go. Ned Flanders is accurate for a cartoon. True. Lightning round.
Matt, I'm not gonna say it till you actually do it.
What are Chris Jones and Jalen Watson both cryptic tweeting about injuries? I'm sure.
That's a comment, not a question.
Thoughts on Josh Allen saying the Bills hide plays until the playoffs.
That's fine. Go for it.
I mean, I think everybody does it. It's just nobody admits it.
I hope his right hand's doing okay.
Except apparently Josh Allen.
I was genuinely worried about his right hand yesterday when he kept shaking it. Like, I'm curious to see what happens in the weeks ahead with that one and what that may be.
You seem genuinely concerned in the sense that you genuinely hope that he was hurt.
No, Matt, I never said that, and I never will say that. So I'm glad we got that disclaimer down there. It's appropriate. No, I mean, dude, the way the football came out that time, I was like, that is a wounded duck. That is not good. And then the way he kept shaking his hand afterwards, and then he would do stuff like try to aggravate it even more. I'm like, buddy, just hand the ball off. Just hand the ball off. Patriots aren't coming back. You're good.
Chris, is Ricky Henderson the best player you ever saw play baseball?
I can't answer that. I don't watch a lot of baseball outside of the Royals.
It's a good question. I mean, because I think a lot, Nick, about 1985 and the fact that Don Mattingly won the MVP that year. Don Mattingly did not deserve to win the MVP that year.
1985. Woo-hoo-hoo.
A little bowling for soup. I love it. I mean, I wanted George Brett to win MVP in 1985, but the reality of it is that Ricky Henderson probably had the best year, and he probably should have won MVP. But I don't think that Ricky ever won MVP. But
you see that?
This is me wandering again.
You see that?
I mean, the best.
It's lightning off in the distance. It keeps getting further away.
I mean, Ricky was amazing. I just wish that because the best player I ever saw actually play baseball in any form whatsoever was Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was absolutely incredible, and had he stayed healthy, my goodness, things he could have done. But Ricky Henderson, rest in peace, was a very, very good player, Chris. I agree. Win on Christmas and you get 3 weeks off. Play twos against Denver. Yes, that's the plan.
No, pretty sure that's what they're trying to do.
That's the plan.
Oh, 604 RJ.
Oh, did I miss it? I missed it.
You did.
I missed it.
Did.
Sorry, RJ. Glad Nick's out there looking out for you.
That's what I'm here for. Other than to bring the Christmas spirit to everybody.
Bills were scoring 30 plus a game. Do we believe they were playing a vanilla offense?
No, I think they were tired from the Rams and the physical Lions game, because a lot of teams that play the Lions the following week were losing there for a while until they got more and more injuries. So, teams are a little sluggish after that. That's why I mentioned the Steelers playing the Eagles and then playing the Ravens and now the Chiefs. That's a tough physical 3-game stretch for the Steelers. And that was a tough stretch for the Bills. So I think they were doing what they had to do to get by there, and they were sluggish there in that first quarter. There's no doubt about that.
Indeedly doodly. I said it again. There you go.
Oakley dokley.
Since we did the Jihad rant, I guess we should answer Lonnie's question. Since I just to emphasize that I was not making fun of the brand in any way whatsoever. Yes, it is the Government Employees Health Association. So there you go. Their campaign has worked, because I did not know what that stood for before they put their naming rights on Arrowhead. Now I do.
Congrats.
Yay. My goodness. See, lightning round. We're catching up. If you got any questions, fire away. We are almost caught up here. So, and now that I see the, I guess what should be there we go.
621 Dr. Oz. Throwing a haymaker at Matt from the top rope.
yeah, the goddess there, Ozzy. Yeah, we got to clean some stuff up. Yeah, well, you can't have those self-inflicted wounds of not cleaning up a lightning round.
Look at Jo with the kind comment at 621, Matt. See, it's very kind.
Go. That was very kind. Gary had a very kind comment as well that I put up, and there you go.
Matt's getting texted.
I did get texted. I was trying to click on lightning round graphic there.
Bobby would like clarification on a super chat at 623.
Well, we already answered Bobby's question.
No, he asked for clarification.
Oh, clarification. Oh, I'm sorry.
He's got another part of his question.
There we go. Could Chris Jones play in Week 18 if the Chiefs need the game to get to the number 1 seed? I mean, my guess would be yes, because there's no indication that this calf is super serious. So they're not treating it that way. MRI was negative. Doesn't seem to be super significant. We did not see him out on the field today. That's typically during practice. That would typically indicate that at least he's getting treatment on it. So I would expect that if the Chiefs need to win in Week 18, it's going to be all hands on deck. And of course, you don't want to be in that situation. There's always a chance that, hey, remember, there's a lot of ways. Chiefs win or a tie. Bills lost or a tie against the Jets, and you clinch the number 1 seed. But I mean, I think it would be all hands on deck. Here's the other thing is that I'm growing more and more convinced by the day, Nick, that if the Chiefs lose to the Steelers and the Bills beat the Jets, that the Chiefs are going to get flexed to Saturday in Week 18.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't really be flexed because nothing's set yet.
True. I mean, at this point, everybody's technically scheduled on, assuming they're playing on a Sunday until told otherwise.
Yeah. So, I mean, Broncos got a big game against the Bengals this week, I believe. I believe they got a big game against the Bengals this week. So, Broncos, how that goes will determine. Because, I mean, the Broncos can punch their playoff ticket. Chargers can punch their playoff ticket. And then the entire AFC playoff bracket is set. And, friendly reminder, fun fact alert. After Wednesday, the Chiefs and Ravens will have played every other playoff team that is currently in the AFC playoff field. Chiefs and Ravens will have gone up against every single one of them. Fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
So, there we go, Matt. I think we maybe got a couple more questions and that's it. And then we don't really need to do last call because we're about done. I got some nachos to order before Monday Night Football. So
go. I know that was the thing. We need to make sure we got everybody free for Monday Night Football.
That's right.
Brian,
that's how much we care about you guys.
Bills outplay the Chiefs routinely. Plays aren't a problem. It's having the ball at the end thing. And we were having this conversation today in the media workroom, and I won't bring up any names because I'm not going to talk out of school about who says what. But
yeah, Matt, don't do that.
But the conversation was, why in the world is Josh Allen an MVP candidate when Lamar Jackson's numbers are demonstrably better? And I also make the case that I'll put my name next to this. I mean, Saquon Barkley is seriously in my MVP consideration because I don't think that the Eagles are a playoff team without Saquon Barkley.
Yes, Saquon's had a huge impact. The way I think each one of those guys will get some type of an award to where like Barkley's the NFC Offensive Player of the Year, and maybe Lamar is the AFC Offensive Player of the Year by numbers. But the question, this is the number one question I think everybody needs to ask themselves. This is how I'm going to vote for my MVP in the PFWA that I get to do this year, unless they forget to send me the ballot. Then that would be unfortunate. Okay. All right, chapter president.
Don't even have to. You just have to log in and you get the ballot. So, see.
Ooh, all right. You learn something new every Christmas day. If you take this player, and Matt already mentioned it, if you take this player off the team, where are they? And that to me is who your MVP is. Who is the one team that you take this player away from them? One, they're not in the playoffs, but two, are they a top 10 pick at that point? And Dr. Ozzy, smart man, you're right. You take Patrick Mahomes off this team, you have some struggles, but you're also not giving Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Toub enough credit on that one. I personally believe if you take Josh Allen off the Bills, that's not a pretty situation. That is not a pretty situation. With Barkley, he has the benefit of the Eagles' offensive line, and Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator. For Lamar, you wouldn't have the same amount of stats. You may not have the same amount of explosiveness, but you have a football team that, with John Harbaugh as the head coach, and the underrated moves that they made was George Warhop as their O-line coach, because he helped where the Ravens were week 1 against the Chiefs as an O-line versus where they are now. Totally different ball game in terms of coaching and how they've molded together. And then when the Ravens brought in Dean Pease to help a very young defensive coordinator in his first time in Zachary Orr, the way they've done all that, I think the Ravens. I don't know if I think the Ravens could still be in a similar spot to what they are. I think they might need to be in a little different spot. But I understand Lamar's stats. I understand everything combined and everything. It's just for me right now when I look at everything, I think you take Josh Allen away from the Bills, I don't even know if they're a 500 football team. I think the Eagles would still be battling to be 500, and I think the Ravens would be a playoff team still. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, but here's where it comes back to me, and to Brian's question in particular about is it the having the ball at the end thing between the Chiefs and the Bills? No, I think it's because one team has Patrick Mahomes and the other team doesn't. I mean, and the Chiefs, once again, you've talked about the battle and the war, Nick. I mean, once again, the Chiefs aren't going to just empty everything out to beat the Bills in a regular season game.
Right.
That's not what they're built to do. They'll empty everything out to win in the postseason, and they have, and they will, and they do. So, to me, that's the real key. That when Josh Allen is great, he's not Patrick Mahomes.
All right, I think you got 2 more questions, and we can wrap this up before another streaming bot joins the chat conversation.
Yes, I have been banning streaming bots at a record pace. Yes, Trevor, did you hear anything about what was bothering Worthy during the Texans game? He was questionable before he went back into the game. Tough player. I mean, yeah, Worthy was asked about it after the game, and he just kind of brushed it off, said he's fine. I mean, the Chiefs described it as an ankle. I mean, I think he just mostly got tangled up there on that touchdown in the end zone, and they were a little worried about him. He maybe had a little bit of discomfort. I never saw him go back to the locker room, get anything seriously looked at. I don't even think he went over to the medical table. So maybe it just needed to be retaped. Maybe it's may have been just that either the tape or the shoe coming loose a little bit. I don't know if you saw or have heard anything different, Nick, but
no, I mean on the injury report he's listed with an ankle, and he was back in pretty quickly, so I'm not terribly worried about it.
Yeah, not worried about it here either. And Chris, should the Bears give Nagy a call for a potential reunion?
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I think the Chicago had their time with Matt, and they're going to go in a different direction. Wouldn't be so stunned if Mike Vrabel's not the front runner there, but we'll see what Ryan Poles and the Bears front office, including Kevin Warren, decide to do.
I still, it's one of those things where I think that Matt Nagy didn't get enough credit for taking Mitch Trubisky to a playoff. I don't think that he was to blame for Mitch Trubisky flaming out because he didn't draft Mitch Trubisky. He had nothing to do with it. He tried his best, but Mitch Trubisky is Mitch Trubisky. Don't think anybody has been able to make anything out of Mitch Trubisky the last time I checked. And Matt never got his own quarterback as a head coach. And that stinks because if you're a head coach, if you hire somebody to be your head coach, you should at least give them a chance to develop their own quarterback, not develop somebody else's quarterback. And I felt bad for Matt from the very beginning because I felt like, hey, I know you want to be a head coach, so you'll say, yeah, I can work with Mitch Trubisky, I can turn him into something. I mean, he would have been better off saying, no, I can't. Let me get my own quarterback. Let me get my own guy that I can coach. But he wouldn't have gotten the job. So the Bears gave the job to him. And then when he couldn't develop a quarterback who has clearly to this point shown no ability to be developed, they fired him. I got kind of got a bad deal there.
And in the Bears head coaching situation, if I'm in their shoes, I reach out to Joe Brady from the Bills and interview him. And obviously they'll probably interview Ben Johnson from the Lions. And if I'm in their shoes too, I interview Liam Cohen from the Bucks. And I mean, I would also at least at minimum talk to Eric Bieniemy and try to see if you get a defensive coach, can Bieniemy make enough of an impression to where is he somebody that, because him and Ryan Poles are going to share similar philosophies in how in both roster building and how to go about the Chiefs way in implementing it from an offensive, on an offense in that perspective. So if they did get a defensive coach, could Bieniemy maybe interview to where, Kevin Warren and Ryan and everybody involved feel comfortable with Bieniemy maybe being an offensive coordinator with a defensive-minded head coach and bring that certain mentality. So those are all things. But at the end of the day, the number one thing I tell people when it comes to head coaches, you don't just want to get somebody that's that's an offense or defensive-minded person. You want somebody that can handle developing a mentality, developing a culture, has a clear vision on what that culture is going to be, and can handle wearing different hats and isn't just locked in on coming up with the best plays and, trying to just be a great mind. So and the kicker of it is you get this opportunity to if you do it right, you get to interview multiple cultures across the league, what their mindsets are, what their mentalities are, and kind of see if there's stuff that you're missing that other franchises have that you need to bring in and implement in your way. But then also you get to hypothetically, you're doing an interview right now, and you ask Mike Vrabel, "Hey, what do you see from this offense? What do you see from this defense?" And you get another person to help evaluate this team, but then you also get to hear their vision of what they want, and then somewhere along the way, you ideally, hopefully, find the right fit for what the organization needs, so that everybody can keep their jobs, stay employed, and keep those checks clearing.
Well said. I did, because we did talk about Nick. I want to bring up and show you my Charlotte Royale. Now, because I told you, I mean, when you saw the clip from Sunday Sound Off, this was an idea that I got from the Great British Bake Off, because on there they had to make it was called the Charlotte Royale, because I believe it was I'm trying to remember which. Well, Charlotte would have been which queen. I can't remember now. I'm getting all of my British queens and everything like this all mixed up. But it was like a coronation kind of dessert. But what it was is that I think it was like I don't remember exactly. I just remember it was a Swiss roll, but it was but it was like a yellow cake Swiss roll. So it was the cake with the whipped cream, then rolled up, just like if you had a Swiss Miss, Little Debbie Swiss Miss, like one of those, and then you encase that within a dome of. In their case, they did it with jelly. But what I thought was, okay, well, I'll do this, except I'm going to make a chocolate cake with the whipped cream, and then roll it together, and then encase it within a dome of peanut butter mousse. So this is what it looked like.
Yeah.
These are my chocolate Swiss rolls, and there was a couple that kind of came out of form, but this is at least the one that on the outside, looked relatively decent. Not great, but it's pretty tight. But you got chocolate cake.
Guys, this is why Matt was really
technically a sponge. That's a
this
sponge.
This is why
cake.
Matt was late today. Okay, he was making sure that this was perfect for his.
This wasn't from today. I'm still making one for this year, but this is not the one that. This is from a couple of years ago.
Matt, I was giving you a cover story.
I know.
Didn't take it, Matt.
I know. I need to listen to my producer, and this is when it's sliced. Although this is not a great slice, but it is what it is. But yes, there's your peanut butter mousse that you see. The peanut butter mousse turned out pretty good. Had I given it more time and let it set a little bit more firmly, it would have been great. But it tasted out of this freaking world.
There you go. Well, looks like Chuck, to answer your question, 637, we already talked about McColl and everything, so I don't. Again, Chuck, I mean, as long as you got Remigio as your returner, you're gold right now. And as long as the receivers stay healthy, I think you're gold as well. So there's that front. Brian is battling a bot, it looks like, in the comment section. And Brian versus bot. It's a new show sweeping the nation in the comment section. And then I think we can probably close out with a new bot's there. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, this is my fifth bot that I've deleted.
And then let's see. John Johnson's we'll make John Johnson the final question. And then we got one more clip to close us out here. Or two, actually. I'll find the other one.
All right, Nick. Yeah. Hey, is Chiefs' offensive line going to hold up against the Steelers' defensive line?
I sure hope so. I think we all hope so, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, Cameron Hayward is going to be tough. TJ Watt's going to be tough. And if I'm in the Chiefs, I'm willing to max protect a little bit more. I think how Joey Porter does from his injury that he had in that Ravens game, I think that's going to determine a lot of them from a secondary perspective, how well they can perform. Because after he left, the Ravens were able to kind of really do some damage overall. So, yeah, I'm telling you, man, that Steelers D-line, especially because of Cameron Hayward and TJ Watt, they're so good. Highsmith does a good job coming off the edge, and he's really starting to get into a whole nother form. But, yeah. And then they got that other rusher. I can't remember his name offhand right now, but he's really kind of been a good rotational guy as well.
Casey Harold has come up with fantastic idea, Nick, because
what's up?
We need a shirt. We're a ham family. Telling me that we couldn't sell some of those.
Well, you keep coming all these, but you're gonna have to do it independently under Chiefs Digest. Apparently, there's a lot of LLC and tax stuff involved that I found out about, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, never mind. That's a lot that I can't put on my plate.
All right. Hey, everybody. We appreciate you for coming by tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Bring up the final thought so people can see the close of Sunday Sound Off as Matt wanted to give away gifts.
I think Jesus asking, I think this is the company Christmas party.
For what
for
you
Chiefs
and I
Digest.
do. Yeah,
Yes.
for you and I, technically. Yeah. But yeah, pull up the Sunday Sound Off clip. Matt picked out the perfect gift for me in Sunday Sound Off yesterday.
There we
go.
go.
Hear about it. And Soren Petro at Sports Radio 810 and Blair Kirchhoff also gave their final thoughts, and they deserve recognition on this as well.
All right, well, fire away.
We're back one final time with our final thoughts here.
And that's
we
TV's
begin with Blair Kirchhoff.
I'm switching to ham, by the way, for Christmas dinner.
It sounded so good, man.
It did. So.
The way he describes it.
Matt,
Ham's the greatest. This is my favorite food now.
Help you out a little bit.
Hey, a little transitive property here. We've been talking college basketball, right? And how about Wichita State beating Kansas State this weekend? And who beat Wichita State?
Go KC, Rua, baby.
The Roos. They've won 4 in a row, including that victory over the Shockers, beat East Tennessee State Saturday night. Congrats to Marvin Menzies' team. Let's keep it going.
They're picked to win the Summit this year.
Hall of Famer, Blair Kirchhoff right there.
Would you have any more thoughts on ham or other stuff?
Well, I was going to tell you what I would give each of my colleagues here tonight if money were no object for Christmas. Now I know I'm just giving you all ham. But I would also give you, for Mick, we're obviously Jelly of the Month for obvious reasons.
Thank you.
For Soren, a mug saying best sports talk show host, because that's what you give the beloved curmudgeon.
Yeah.
For Blair, a trophy case for all of his various Hall of Fame awards.
Hall of Fame, yeah. True.
And for our beloved producer, Nick, he would get a novelty T-shirt that says, I am very happy to be here. I'm a very nice person, but please don't engage me if not necessary.
That's all true. you know us so well. Soren, what's your final thought?
Just real quick, 3 games in 11 days is too much for any football player to play. And when I hear the players talk about, well, the league has got to do something about this, they should note they do have a union. They are part of a union that collectively bargained and approved these things. So just quit taking like a few more bucks in your pocket today and think about the big picture overall, and maybe you wouldn't have to do this.
Yeah, they're the ones getting all that money, right? All right, Merry Christmas. Thanks for staying up.
There you go. If you don't get to watch Sunday Sound Off every week, that is what you can see on a regular basis on KSHB 41 every Sunday.
Right before you see a repeat of Graham Benzinger.
It's not a repeat of Graham Benzinger has a new show every week. Graham Benzinger is a great guy. I want you to know that. We're friends. We follow each other on Twitter and Instagram.
Just teasing. I'm just teasing Graham.
So Matt, that's all I got. I gotta go order my nachos and go pick them up for well, it won't be before Monday Night Football anymore, but it will be during Monday Night Football. Got some wings on the way too. I gotta go get.
Sweet. Well, enjoy your wings, enjoy your nachos, enjoy whatever it is that you were dining on during Monday Night Football or whatever you got planned for Festivus. Everybody have a great holiday. Merry Christmas to you all. We're going to see you probably a couple more times this week. We got 41 is the mic after the game on Christmas Day. At some point, we'll figure out.
Late that night because I got family in town.
Exactly. And we take care of the important things. And then later on this week, I'm probably going to have a secret second edition of the Chiefs Digest live Q&A. So
what day will that be, Matt? What day? We'll give the time later because we got to work around our schedule.
Friday?
There you go, people.
Would that be of interest to any of you? Hopefully so.
Is that something that might interest you? So you got a Monday, Wednesday, Friday from Matt and I. How about that, huh?
There you go.
You won't. It's the gift that will keep on giving.
Oh, it's definitely the gift that keeps on giving, Clark.
All right, Matt, you got that promo to roll us out.
All right, everybody have a great week, great holiday, and we will see you later.
It's all things Chiefs right here. 41 is the mic, a Chiefs podcast on your home of the Chiefs. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts. Also